Hello, this is Dylan Miller on Daily Dose of Dylan, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, or iHeartRadio. This is Dylan Miller on Daily Dose of Dylan. Alright. Okay. So, I have a few things to cover. Just a few things from yesterday. I'm just going to basically go over the big picture things I did yesterday, not the whole thing, you know. So I'll just give you the big picture from yesterday, which is about, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 topics, 6 segments. They'll go by quick. After this one. This is the one big one that I have. So, gotta cover Monday. Ooh, sorry about that. Monday Night Football. Alright. So, I'm just going to address the elephant in the room. That was a disaster all around, and I understood the loss against the Titans for the Rams, but, the Titans are good, even without Derrick Henry. Like I said, yes, Derrick Henry is very important, but they got other weapons, you know? But that disaster was unacceptable, you know? They went all in with Von Miller and OBJ. You can't just go all in with those two people and then just lose, you know? And it's just the matter in which they lost. You know, they got destroyed. It's not like they slightly underperformed and then just got, unlucky at the end with a Hail Mary or something. They got destroyed. The Niners were in control all game. And Jimmy Ward had a great game. Okay, I will get around to giving credit to the Niners, because that's what you got to do. You got to, as much as you want to criticize the one team, you got to give credit to the other. Like with the Dolphins and the Ravens last week. The Niners, but this is bad for the Rams. The Niners haven't won at home all year. Not one time this year did they win at home. And they just got destroyed by the Niners there. That's just an unacceptable blowout. That cannot happen. Against a team that's somehow bad at home, that's... Alright, you know what? I'm going to move on to letting you guys hear the credit I have to give to the Niners. They played that game very well. Very well coached there. The first time I was impressed by Kyle Shanahan this season. Jimmy Ward had a great game. They took down 11 minutes off the clock in one drive. Very similar to what Bill Parcells did in that Super Bowl that the Giants won. So that was a very genius, very well-coached game. And they showed up. The Niners, they showed up great, especially after getting thrashed by a Cardinals team who didn't have 3 of their best players, Kyler Murray, Hopkins, and A.J. Green, and they lost Chase Edmonds mid-game too. So that was a pretty good bounce back after getting destroyed by a pretty bad team in the... What is it? The Cardinals were in a bad team without... let me rephrase that. They were in a bad team without Murray and Hopkins. But the Niners still have enough talent on their roster to beat the Cardinals when they have Colt McCoy at their quarterback. But, it's been a tough year for the Niners. They clearly haven't met expectations. They were number 9 on my hierarchy for the season, ahead of the Packers, which I would like to take back. But they have not been as good as they were supposed to this year. But everything was on display last night. I love coaches being aggressive. But it doesn't look as good when... I very much condone aggressive moves in the offseason. But I don't condone... I don't condone it if, it doesn't look as good on paper when the move you made happens to, destroy your team. Like, OBJ isn't in his prime anymore. He had a short prime. All right, he had like a three years where he was in the spotlight, and then that was about it. But he still has enough talent and enough left in the tank. At least he should still have enough left in the tank to replace, Robert Woods, who didn't have this season. Yes, he's technically the number 2 receiver there. But as someone who had Robert Woods on this fantasy team before he got injured, he did not do much. All right. He had one big game against Seattle and one against Houston. Other than that, it was really nothing. All right. He was pretty quiet most of the season. So it's not like he's filling big shoes. If it were Cooper Kupp that he had to replace, then I'd be like, okay, that's a pretty big shoe to fill. But Robert Woods isn't, and Stafford, the big move they made that really looked like it was paying off this season, looked like Jared Goff, the guy they traded. He looked like Jared Goff. That's a Jared Goff stat line, what he had. Let me read it to you. 67 quarterback rating, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 26 for 41. So, okay. What's 26 for 41? That's a, what is it? 26 for 41. That's a 63% passing completion percentage. So, that's pretty much a Jared Goff stat line. 60% completion percentage, low 60s, and 1 touchdown, more picks than touchdowns, which is never good. But that's just they were playing that as if it was like a preseason game almost. That's what they looked like they were playing like. And Goff Stafford was just not good. Like I said, they can't take big swings and then just get curb stomped by a Niners team that has been subpar at home. But Deebo Samuel just straight up, Deebo Samuel, ever since Aaron Donald made that little comment, he's like destroyed them. He had 1 rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown against them. But he always does well against them ever since Donald, basically, I wish I can show you guys clips, but he was asked about how you game plan for Deebo Samuel, and he said, "Who's that?" I think he obviously was serious. He sounded serious when he said it, but it wasn't as if he said it he knew who he was. He was just being a smug jerk about it. He didn't know who he was. So that's a big thing to come from really one of the best to ever play defensive end, All right. So that's what I got to say about that Monday night game. Now, I'm going to move into a similar topic. It is about the Monday night game, but it's about one area in it, and that's OBJ's debut. All right, you can't force OBJ the ball. Just because Robert Woods is out, all right, first of all, like I said, Robert Woods was not a big guy in that equation. He wasn't this massive... he didn't have a big role in the offense. But, it just felt like early in the game, Stafford was just forcing him the ball for no reason. You don't force him the ball because he's not, who OBJ used to be. And I did slightly agree with Nick Wright's comparison to Randy Moss, but, that's just not the same situation, The difference is Moss was required by the Pats with Tom Brady in the offseason. All right, so there's a few differences here. Stafford is good, but he's not Tom Brady. All right, Moss got Tom Brady, Odell got Stafford. And Randy Moss, and this isn't a criticism, but Odell is just not Randy Moss. All right, that's not a criticism. Randy Moss is the second best receiver ever. All right. So there is no reason. All right, second or third best receiver ever. Because I know some people have Don Hudson ahead of him, which is reasonable. But Moss is the top 3 receiver to ever walk this planet, to ever play the game. Odell is Odell. He had a 3-year prime, and he's no longer in that. So, and he was required mid-season, Moss was required in the off-season. He got to see the playbook, basically, get to know Brady and all that, Odell was required mid-season. He, just got there, So he's not going to be the same as Randy Moss was with the Raiders and the Pats. He's not going to be the same thing with the Browns and the Rams. His career's just not going to get rejuvenated like that, And also, Moss just hit a slump, with the Raiders. And Odell didn't just randomly hit a slump. He had a series of injuries that I think, I think his series of injuries is the reason for that slump, all right? I think his injuries have greatly affected his, athletic abilities, That's another difference, Moss was not coming off an injury. He was just coming off of down year. And I'm not down on the Rams, but these last 2 weeks have been not very convincing to me for a alleged Super Bowl contender. All right. On to another team that's probably not a Super Bowl contender, but can definitely win a playoff game. The Pats and Mac Jones. And I know I'm being a little obnoxious on how much I'm praising him, but the reason I'm doing this is basically as an apology for criticizing him, saying he's going to be a bust. And now, to be fair, I really felt he was going to be a bust in anywhere but New England. But I'm going to stand by the fact that I did say it was going to be a bust, so I was definitely wrong on that. But, Jones just destroyed the Browns this week, And it wasn't a shock to me. Belichick always destroys young quarterbacks, and, Belichick is not a bad coach anymore, all right? He's still one of the greatest guys in the NFL. All right? It's not... last year, just because he went 7-9 with a roster that, to be completely honest, should have been 4-12, 3-13. They were missing, 7 defensive players due to opt-outs? He had Cam Newton, who, even though I praised him, I only praised him against his critics, all right? I didn't say he was a great quarterback or a good quarterback, I said he was a lot better than what people were giving him credit for. All right, he had Cam Newton, who also got COVID mid-season. All right, that roster with the roster they had there, that team should have been 3-13, 4-12. Instead, they were 7-9. All right, and then this year, he's proving you wrong. And, all right, so the thing with Cam was, he doesn't fit that system. He doesn't fit the Pats, all right? The Pats don't need an athletic quarterback like Cam, who runs the ball. All right, they got a running back. They get these running backs that aren't very flashy, but they work and they score touchdowns. That's their formula. That's really that's their formula. They don't get the flashiest players, but they get players that get in the end zone. That's what you need to win. And a quarterback like Cam just, even though he can be good in a few, he's kind of a system quarterback, Cam Newton. He doesn't fit in that system with the Pats, where they just need a quarterback that can, just be accurate and they don't have to be athletic. Problem is, Cam is, athletic, and he's going to run the ball instead of just passing it, So really, what happened last year was he had a quarterback that didn't fit the system, and many people opt out, all right? So, still a good coach, and he proved it this year. Even though I'm impressed by what Jones is doing, you got to give Belichick credit here, too. He's